Have you ever wondered what immigration officers, Canadian visa officers, look for when you apply for visitor visa? It basically shows the exact questions IRCC officers use to decide whether to approve or refuse your temporary resident visa. And today, I'll walk you through it straight from IRCC's own operation manuals and to so you can understand what really happens behind the scenes when an officer looks at your visitor visa application. Well, I'm Liz Matthew, the regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Thanks for watching this video and thank you for coming back to Yoke Immigration's YouTube channel. And let's dive into this topic. When and what officer looks for is when a visa officer opens your application, they're mainly looking for one main factor. Are you going to leave Canada at the end of your stay? That's it. Every other question revolves basically under this one big point. And the manual basically says that applicants must demonstrate that they have the capacity and willingness to leave Canada at the end of their authorized temporary period. And that is where the concept of dual intent comes in. So it's okay to eventually want to become a permanent resident, but right now, you must clearly show your temporary intent. So that is the initial point when you submit your visitor visa application. And there are 12 questions officers basically looks at, and let's go through each of the 12 questions and what one by one. So this comes directly from IRCC's internal checklist for assessing TRV eligibility and the purpose and duration of the trip. What is the purpose of your trip mainly? And officers want to know if your plans are genuine or they're just vague. And are you visiting family or attending a wedding or tourism? And what is your explanation? And the documents should match with your explanation, like invitation letters, itineraries, event proofs, and so on. The next question that they look at is how long will you be staying in Canada? The officer, basically, what they check in that particular point is if your requested duration makes sense. Say, like if you have a full time job at home and a 4-month vacation, it may not sound credible enough. So always align your travel purpose, leave letter, and return ticket dates logically. Like it should make sense to yourself before you submit to an officer. So ties to Canada and your home country ties. Who basically invited you? Are they a citizen or are they a PR? Or do you have proof of that invitation? And officers verify your relationship and whether it seems legitimate or it's just an opportunity for you to come to Canada. So that's the key point that they look at. And another question that they look at is what ties do you have with your home country? Like this is very strong and very important to be noted at. Like what are your property ownerships, your employment, your family responsibilities, your financial obligations back home? It needs to be strong before you decide to come to Canada as a temporary resident, which is a visitor visa. And even if you have strong ties, the manual, it clearly says that officers should also consider the country that you are living in and how stable economically that country is and politically as well. So that's something that the officer looks at. And in even a good job might be not enough if your country is facing instability. Even a even a good paying job will not in some cases help you out. So include salary slips, your property documents, your family proof, a letter from your employer considering your return date. And another question that they look at is your passports or your travel documents. They look at the expiry date and what is the country of issue. And also, will you support yourself in Canada? Officers check if you yourself, who is deciding to visit Canada, have enough funds, and if your host will be supporting you. They even assess whether it is realistic to stay with that host for that entire trip. Foreign nationals must have enough funds to maintain themselves in Canada without resorting to illegal employment or other social assistance. So, having your own funds in your bank account and having a stable fund is very important because officers do pay attention to that. It shows that if you come into Canada as a visitor, can you sustain yourself without working illegally? And for that, include bank statements, credit card proofs, or your host financial documents if you're sponsored. And another question is, will you leave Canada? They verify if you can afford to go back, such as return tickets, and if your country that you're coming from, are you a permanent resident in that country? Do you need a visa to go back? And do you have a valid visa? That is also what they look at. And what is your intention mainly? To work or study in Canada? If you need to study, you need an approved study permit. And to change to a study permit without applying visitor to later study permit without proof of a study permit, that creates issues as well. And another question is if you have any criminal offenses in your history. Officers cross check this with your biometrics, your with RCMP and global databases, and every minor offenses in another country can also trigger admissibility reviews. So, your serious medical condition also is looked at when you are submitting for the TRV application, visitor visa application. And have you had a history of TRV refusal earlier? That's also being looked at. And did you actually state it out? If you didn't state it out and if you had a refusal, that becomes a misrepresentation. A whole new issue gets created. And were you ever from any other country other than Canada or Canada? Have you been removed, like for whatever reason be from it? So these are the 12 main questions that IRCC looks at when you submit your visitor visa application. And now that you know these 12 questions officers actually ask, here's how you can use them. They provide application documents and letter of explanation with purposes such as your invitation letter, your bank statements, your leave approvals, your home ties, connections such as family and property proofs, very important. And when preparing your TRV application or reapplying after a refusal, structure a cover letter, your letter of explanation, very important as it puts it all together. And the document that I just mentioned, the operational manual, IRCC's operational manual, it's available for the public on the IRCC's website. So make sure you look at that before you decide to submit your visitor visa application. And hope this video has been helpful. And if you do have any comments, share them in the comments box. We are happy to help you out. And subscribe to our channel so we can provide more immigration related videos. And thanks for watching. See you all in the next video.